Introduction to React. So, the first question. Does anybody know what React is?
JavaScript library.
It's a JavaScript library. Okay? Sounds good? Anyone else? You agree on that, right? Is it a framework? No, it's not a framework, right? There are some very, very hard discussions on the internet. Is it a framework? Yes, no, like hooligan people, right? It goes beyond the scope of this session to explain what's the difference between a library and a framework. But if you want to be correct, you are completely right. React is a library. It's a utility created by Facebook, originally developed in 2011, and first released in 2013 to help you create amazing applications. And to be honest, they did that. They did that, right? So if you have a bit of background on programming, especially in web programming, you may have heard about Angular, right? You know who is the creator of Angular?
Google.
That's correct, Google, right? So Google was the king, right? But then Facebook said, no, I want to be the king of JavaScript, right? Because the king of JavaScript is very powerful, right? Let's say. Then, you know, they created React, and React became more popular than Angular, and then Google said, no, but I'm going to create Angular too, right? But they didn't manage to succeed, right, as much as React did. So one of the reasons why React became so popular is because it's very simple to start working with, right? Actually, I hope everybody here managed to get that, right? This is a React application that we managed to set up in, what, 10, 15, 20 minutes, right? It's very easy to start working, right? With Angular, sometimes you need to spend more time, even though that has changed recently, but it's a bit more complicated, right, to start creating content. So today I would like to do some coding with React with you all together, right? So we're going to create a basic app. If it's not the first time you attend the React series, you will be a bit familiar of what we're going to do. Historically speaking, we'll be creating something called Heroes app, where we create an app about heroes, DC, Marvel, and then we navigate stuff like that. I would like today to change it a bit, right? So if it's not the first time you come, it's not like doing the same thing all the time, which is a bit boring, right? So let's today talk about Hollywood actors, right? So the very first thing is to make sure that we have a correct working environment. So how do we make sure the working environment is correct? Well, you got the spinning logo with React, right? Somewhere you got Visual Studio, right? Here you go. And with Visual Studio, I would like everybody to do a smoke test. You know what a smoke test is? You know when your grandparents, they have a very old car, and you didn't know if it was going to work, the engine and things like that. You switch the key, and if there was a smoke right on the rear of the car, it's like the car works. Is it science? It's not science. The car may not work at all, right? But if there is no smoke, for sure it won't work, right? So let's do a smoke test. Smoke test means let's do a very dummy change anywhere. For example, probably in line number 12, I believe, you'll have something called, you see, app.js. I hope everybody can see something called app.js. Yeah? Right? So in app.js, you will get a message called edit source app and save to reload. Right? So please do a very silly change here, whatever. For instance, just add a few exclamation marks at the end of the line. Something like that. Something very silly, right? App.js. And immediately after adding the silly changes and saving the file, please don't forget to save the file, right? There is a way to save files automatically. But again, that goes beyond the scope of this session. After saving the file, if you go to the browser again, you will see your amazing, your sexy exclamation marks at the end of the line, right? That's the smoke test. That means, yes, we are ready to start working. Is everybody here? Yeah. Hope no one got lost already, right? We've done nothing. Cool. Again, if anyone has any problem, remember Daniel, Itamar, Mo, and Dave will be more than happy to help you. Cool. So once this smoke test is working, now I'm going to do something very aggressive, which is removing everything. This is a sample application, right? This is something that Facebook gives you for free, right? to start dealing with React, which is good. Hey, that's good, right? I prefer to have this than a blank page, right? Okay, that's better than nothing. However, if you want to create an app, you don't want to have the React logo on top of your app, right? That doesn't make any sense. So let's do something, guys. Let's tidy up. Let's tidy up. Before creating new content, let's delete content. Probably you've noticed, again, I'm all the time in app.js. If I switch file, I'll let you know. But if I don't say anything, please stick to app.js. In that file, if you're a bit familiar with HTML, you may notice this is kind of HTML, right? Is it HTML? What do you think? No. Yes, no? What's that then? JSX, correct. So that it looks like HTML, it's in some extent HTML, but there are some subtle differences with HTML, right? So long story short, it's kind of HTML, right? So in this kind of HTML, technically speaking called JSX, as some of you already mentioned, I would like to remove everything from line number 9 to line number 22. In other words, I would like to remove the header. Yeah? Remove it. Aggressively. Get rid of it. Right? And then after removing it, we can start creating content, right? Because now it looks like better, right? It looks very simple. So, because I'm going to talk about Hollywood actors, feel free to change the topic. Feel free to talk about movies, football players, fashion brands, technologies, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? What we talk about is not that relevant. The important thing is to get familiar with the process of adding elements to the user interface with React. So first of all, I would like to set the title. So how do you set the title? Just type the title. So for example, I'm going to call it list of actors. Yeah? Just as an example. So then, if after typing and saving, you go back to the browser, it's technically speaking all right? I got the title. It's very small, right? How do we make a title bolder in HTML? H1, I like that. Look, guys, you can surround your title with an amazing H1 tag. H1. Yeah? H1. If you save, now it looks a bit better, right? Bolder, bigger. So you can see that I'll have to go, you know, like a ping pong. Do you play ping pong, right? We play ping pong a lot here. It's a requirement to get a job to play ping pong, right? But ping pong is nice when you play, not when you code, right? So I don't want to do that all the time. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you the way I like to do proper coding. And I reckon that it's not ideal with this screen, zooming and everything. But for this session, that may be enough. So the way I like to code is putting my Visual Studio on the left and my browser on the right-hand side. Then I don't need to keep switching from one to the other. It's way more productive. We talk a lot in the bootcamp about being productive. How do we do that? Well, if you are a Mac user, we can do something. Probably you know that already. This is not related to coding at all, right? But if you're a Mac user, if you stop maximizing your screen, so you have them floating around the screen like I do right at the moment, you can do something quite nice. You can hold the green button, hold it, don't release it, and then look, you drag it, it's pretty nice, right? So I can drop it, on, for example, on the left-hand side, and now I can decide what to put on the right-hand side. I'll select my browser, you see? Right? That's pretty cool. Why that's pretty cool? Because now if I change the title, it's immediate. I don't waste my time moving from Windows. Everything is on the screen, right? Small productivity hint. If you're a Windows user, I'm sure you can do the same thing. You can snap windows, right? You drag and drop the window, one window to the left, and then you drag the other one to the right or something like that, right? Yes. And if you're a Linux user, I'm sure you know how to do it, because I don't. So, right. Again, this is optional. You don't need to do that if you don't want or you don't feel comfortable. Is everybody following? Yes? Good, right? Maybe you've noticed, maybe not. Do you have the terminal open inside of Visual Studio? Or do you have an external window? External window. You know what's the problem with an external window? It's probably not on your screen, right? So the terminal is very convenient because if there is any issue, if there is any error, if you don't have it in front of you, the error is hidden. You don't know, right? It will take you a while to realize that there is an error in there. So the way I did that, and again, you feel free to do the same or not. In the long term, I strongly recommend you, not necessarily today, but in the long term, please do that, to open the integrated terminal that comes with Visual Studio Code. You see, I got the terminal at the bottom of my screen, which is very convenient because I have everything I need in one place. How to open it? That's a really good question. If you go to the top of Visual Studio Code, there is an option called View, and then there is an option called Terminal, more or less in the middle. But if you are already running the server, this is not going to help you, because you will need to kill the server, start it again, blah, 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 blah. Right? So, FYI, next time you start working with React, I strongly recommend you to use the integrated terminal instead of the external one, right? Easy. Cool. So for reference purposes, I'll keep my terminal.
The question.
Yep.
From this terminal, can we start the npm start?
npm start, correct. Yes. From this terminal, you can just type npm start, and it will do the same thing, right? Yeah. Just noticing my face is on top of the terminal, right? It's not very ideal, but I can tell you what's going on, guys. So if you check your terminal, external terminal, probably you may notice a message like this one, right? So generally speaking, if the terminal has white and green colors, or maybe blue, all good. If the terminal has yellow colors, meh. If the terminal has red colors, wrong, right? It's a common pattern in software development. So I believe the majority of you got a terminal with white and yellow, right? White and yellow means, all right, yeah, still okay, but please, you know, you've been coding for 3 minutes. Look after details, guy. You want to get a job, you cannot afford doing these things, right? So, does anyone know why we got a warning? Correct. Do you remember when we delete the majority of the HTML, the header? We remove it, but now on top, and we'll go back to this point later on, maybe, we're still importing things that we are not using. Even if we don't really understand what that line means, even if we don't have any clue what that means, the error is, A, you are trying to import something that you are not using it. What's the point, right? It's like buying an espresso machine and then not using it, right? Things like that. If you buy something, it's because you want to use it, right? So that's the same thing. If you import something, it's because you want to use it. If we don't want to use the React logo anymore, it's not on the screen, then please get rid of line number 2. And then after that, we got a lovely green message compiled successfully. Yeah? It's good. That's good. That's a good message. Compiled successfully. Any questions so far? No? Cool. So let's do some coding. I would like to display a list of Hollywood actors, right? Random actors. Again, feel free to change the topic. So let's create one. I want to display an image, and I want to display the title underneath, something like that, something simple, right? Because I want to target mobile users, right? We tend to be mobile first. I'm going to show you, in case you don't know, how to run Chrome in mobile mode. If you do right click anywhere in Chrome, literally anywhere, you press the last, generally speaking, is the last option, inspect. Yeah, right?
Close this one. This is
After pressing inspect, you may get a panel like this one. I believe if it's the very first time in your life you open the panel, it will be at the bottom, right? I think that's the default one. You can change the layout. On the right hand side, you click on the three dots, you see, and then you can decide where do you want to display the dev tools. At the bottom, on the left, on the right, or as a floating separate individual window. I personally prefer, and again, this is like flavors, everyone may have a different opinion, I personally prefer to put it on the right hand side. Why? Because it plays really well with the layout of a phone screen, right? At least on portrait mode. And now, if you notice, there is a small but important button. I'll try to zoom it a bit. Oh, it gets very big, right? You see that button here? If you press on that button, what's that button? Toggle device toolbar. If you click here, and I zoom out a bit, yeah. So now, essentially, even though it may not feel obvious, on top, somewhere, and I'll find it. Here you go. If the resolution is very small, it's not even visible. So you need to have some decent resolution. You will see that. You can select which device do you want to emulate. Galaxy, Pixel, iPhones, iPads, all these things, right? So if you select any of them, for instance, I will select iPhone X. Now you see, or maybe you don't see, but yeah, it's very small, fair enough, but this is what the iPhone X is, right? Yeah. So now this screen is emulating the screen of an iPhone X. This is pretty convenient to make sure our user interface satisfies the iPhone users, right? Please note, this is a very rudimentary emulator. This is just emulating the screen. This has nothing to do with hardware or the pixel density or things like that. Just the screen, right? But hey, as a first step, it's better than nothing. Cool. Because now I'm pretty comfortable with the setup. Look at how many things do I have on the screen, right? I have the code on the left, the terminal at the bottom, then in the middle, the iPhone X emulator, and then some utilities on the right-hand side that we may use afterwards. We'll see, right? So, once we got that, let's start displaying Hollywood actors, because I don't have any idea of what can we do. I'll go to Google to try to find a nice picture of some actors. So if I search Hollywood actors, yeah, Tom Cruise, right? So I'm going to search for an image of Tom Cruise, right? I'll try to find square images. Feel free to download any image, but I'll find a square image and I'll let you know afterwards why. Do you know how to search square images in Google? Or of any aspect ratio? No one? Right. On the right-hand side of Google Images, you get a button called Tools. If you click on it, it will show you a bar at the bottom, so you can click on size, so you can search different sizes, right? For now, I want to search images that are exactly of a given size. Again, you don't have to do that. I'm doing that because then that will facilitate some layout tasks. So if you want to do that, so for example, give me an image of Tom Cruise of 640 by 640, right? As an example. So if you do that,
How did you get that pop-up?
yeah, again, go to Google Images, on the right-hand side, Tools,
Yeah.
and then after clicking on Tools, you get this nav bar at the bottom. So there is one option called Type. Not Type, sorry, Size. What is size? Yeah. Will be somewhere, Size. Large, medium, icon. You can search images of exactly one particular size, right?
Thank you.
Right, so let's download an image of the always smiling Tom Cruise. So to download the image, right-click, save image as. And now something important. Where do we save the sexy image of Tom Cruise? We should save it inside of our project, right? Inside of the project. So generally speaking, unless you've explicitly changed that, the project will be created in your home directory. If you are a Mac user, your home directory will be slash, I don't know, what's the home directory of a Mac user, guys? It's users. It depends, right? I mean, look at the icon of the house, right? That's the home directory, right? So you click on the home directory and then you click on the folder that you created when you created the app. If you're a Windows user, the home directory is c:/users/ your username / right? Just find where you created the project. And very important, once you identified where your project is, please know that you need always to drop your components, JavaScript, CSS, images, audio, video, icons, everything should be inside of the source folder, SRC. Why? That's a convention in the Create React App world, right? So just drop your image there. I strongly recommend you to bring a meaningful name, right? Because I will need to play with the name, right? If the name is very long, you know, I'll spend 20 minutes trying to figure out how to import it. So I'm just going to call it tom-cruise.jpg. After downloading the image, you will see it's already on the left-hand side on the navigation panel in Visual Studio. It will be a new file, maybe green, maybe not, depending on your Git settings, but for sure you'll have a file, right? Tom Cruise. And if you click on it, right, we get lots of Tom Cruise on the screen, right? Everything okay? Yeah, all good, right? So now, this is one of the most important questions of the day. How can we display Tom Cruise in our application? What do we need to do, guys? Image tag. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's do that. Let's do that. Or import. Actually, you mentioned the two things we need to do. First of all, we need to import the image on top, and then we need to display it. Every time you want to use an image, 2 steps. First, you import it. Imported, it means it's available. You can use it as many times as you want, right? First import it, then use it. How do we import the image? Let's have a look, guys. Somewhere at the top of the file, you got a couple of import statements. Somewhere, please type import, and then the name of the variable that will host Tom Cruise. You can put whatever you want. So I'm going to put here Tom Cruise. Again, that's random. That's the name of the variable. And then from, and then the location where Tom Cruise variable is. You need to open quotes, single quotes or double quotes. What do you think? Both are valid. In JavaScript, you can use single quotes, you can use double quotes. Most of the time, you can even use backticks. I personally prefer single quotes. Why? Because they are simpler. But up to you. And then we need to specify where Tom Cruise is. The way you specify the location of the file in our system, the easiest way to do that is typing /. And then after typing /, we can type the name of the file. That's why it's important to remember how you call the file, right? tom-cruise.jpg. Be careful with the location, the name of the file. If you misspell it, it won't work. If I type something different,
Where we are saving the file, is it under node module?
I don't know. It depends where you did it, right? I recommend to leave it, for simplicity reasons, on the src folder. src folder. Yeah? So then we don't mess around with parent folder, child folder. So let's leave everything for now in the src folder, right? In the long term, obviously, we may want to create new folders, blah, blah, blah. But for now, let's leave everything in there. Right. If I type in the name file incorrectly, look at the error. Failed to compile, right? Can't resolve, blah, 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 right? That's why we need to be precise. Typing the name of Tom Cruise and the extension. If you download it as PNG and you try to import it as JPEG, it won't work, right? Coding is sometimes a bit sensitive. This is a good example, right? Cool. Did everyone manage to import Tom Cruise or whatever you are downloading from Google? Yeah? Cool. Do you know, this is a bit off topic, and not necessarily even about JavaScript or React, what's the technical name to describe this syntax where you use the hyphen? You see? We have several words, Tom, and then Cruise, and these words are separated by a dash, by a hyphen, by a minus symbol. What's the technical way to describe this syntax? No one? Right. So the way to describe that, if you were born probably less than 30 years ago, is kebab case. Why kebab? Because this is like the blade that goes through the meat, right? That sounds a bit dodgy, but that's real. It's real. It's real, right? It's real. You can perfectly go to Stack Overflow and ask questions with kebab case. That's absolutely accepted today in 2019, right? That's probably the influence of the millennials. Because if you were born in the 80s or earlier than that, there was a classic way to describe that, which was Lisp case. Why Lisp? Because Lisp is a very old programming language and was the first one to, maybe the first one, to introduce that syntax, Lisp case, right? But today, if you go to Stack Overflow, you have a group of young people and you ask about Lisp case, they will probably say, what are you talking about, right? Go back to wherever you were. Cool. So that's kebab case. And actually, talking about case in JavaScript and programming in general, on the left-hand side, you see the way we declare the variable. We are not using any dash, any hyphen. We separate the words with a capital, right? What's the technical name to describe that? Camel case. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And what if we have, for instance, instead of the hyphen, we have an underscore? That's typical on PHP and this kind of weird languages. What's that? That's snake case. Goes up and down, right? Snake case. And last question. You already know the camel case, right? Because like a camel, it goes up and down as well. What happens if I put the first character with capital? What's the name of this case? Which one? Sentence case. I never heard that. But you may be right. Let's Google that, right? Sentence case. Programming. Maybe. I mean, maybe sentence case. I don't know. The way I know it works is a Pascal case, which is also very old-fashioned, right? Because Pascal, long time ago, was the first language to introduce this kind of syntax, right? Cool. Sorry for the off-topic, guys. And then let's display Tom Cruise, finally. So to display Tom Cruise, as someone already suggested a few minutes ago, we need to type an img tag. So look at that symbol. That's a symbol you create tags in HTML. Then you type img. So that will eventually display an image, eventually, right? The way to tell which image do we want to display, we need to type src equals please src, don't do that, scr, right? That's probably the most repeated question on Meetup. Why the image doesn't work? Because you type scr instead of src, stands for shows, right? And then be careful with the syntax, guys, this is important, because we want to use a variable that we're importing, we need to use curly brackets inside of the curly brackets. Then the name of the image we imported on top. I call it Tom Cruise, right? So then we put Tom Cruise in here, right? Easy. And now we finally have to close the tag. The way to close the tag, or this particular tag, simply type slash and then the closing tag symbol. Yeah? And suddenly Tom Cruise is on the right hand side. Not perfect yet, but hey, it's there, right? Did everyone manage to get an image on the screen? Yes? All good, right? All good. Question for you guys. What happened if I rename Tom Cruise with Boris Johnson? Does it work? What do you think, guys? Will this work, yes or no? Why not?
It should work. Just the name.
It doesn't exist.
Look, I imported Boris Johnson and I'm now displaying Boris Johnson. It's consistent, right? If I refresh, you got Boris Johnson after doing some surgery, right? It works, right? It works. Technically speaking, it's correct. That's fine. However, obviously, because we try to follow good patterns, good practices, and that's one of the reasons why our students get a good job after the bootcamp, is because that's wrong, right? If they go to a job interview and they present that exercise, what do you think? It's correct, it works, but from a semantics point of view, it's wrong, right? We tend to review projects of some of the guys that they do, I mean, not this kind of thing, this is a bit too much, right? But they do weird things. And the classic answer is, hey, I'm working by myself, I don't care about semantics. That's wrong. Every software company has at least 2 developers, you and you after 6 months. Even if you think Boris Johnson is a good name for that, because you are working by yourself and blah, 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 in 6 months, you'll review that code, you'll revisit that, and you say, what? How many beers I had that day, right? So don't call it Boris Johnson, unless you want to display Boris Johnson, of course, right? So call it Tom Cruise. You know, with Visual Studio, there is a very sexy way to rename variables. It's a bit advanced and beyond the scope of the session. But if you press, I think on Windows you can do something very similar. If you select the variable name and you press Command D, now you may notice that all the instances of my variable are highlighted. That means if I rename it, if I type Tom Cruise, look, whoa, it's like magic, right? Yeah. If you're a Windows user, I think it's Control D. But I don't know. There is a spreadsheet somewhere that gives you all the shortcuts on Visual Studio, right? Cool. So Tom Cruise works. Do you know why, however, the image is too large? Right, look. This is my screen, but the image goes beyond the screen, kind of. That's a classic problem on HTML. Classic problem, right? So I'll tell you how to fix that. Images are a bit special. And because they are special, we need to explicitly tell the browser how do we want to display images on the screen. The way to do that is the first time I'm changing the file. Up until now, we've been dealing with app.javascript, but now I will invite you to open a new file called app.css. So I'm sure the majority of you are a bit familiar with CSS. If not, CSS is the technology that allows us to style our web applications, right? Ish. So, probably you can, I'm going to keep the first 3 lines because I want things to be aligned to the center. It goes beyond the scope of the session to talk about the details of CSS, but I'm going to invite you to delete everything. Same thing we did with the JavaScript. We got just noise here, so delete everything, guys. apart from the first 3 lines. Nothing changes actually, which is a good thing, right? So the best code is the one that you delete, because that's the only code that will never ever fail. That's a good example. Now, the way to control the images, more or less, in HTML is, please type img, that stands for image, and then open curly braces, and inside of the curly braces, let's make sure that our images will never go beyond the width of the screen. In classic CSS, you can easily achieve that, and I never said that was perfect, but hey, for now should be okay. Please type width, colon, 100%. And now Tom Cruise is perfectly aligned horizontally in the middle of the screen. Any question? No? Am I going too fast, too slow, or? Okay, cool. Right, so we got Tom Cruise, right? But for someone, I mean, obviously I know who is this guy, right? But if we start making it a bit more complicated, I will get lost easily, right? Because we want to improve the user experience. We want to make our app usable for every type of customers. I'm going to suggest you to put the name of the actor underneath, right? So that will help people to understand who are we talking about in our Gossip magazine. So on line number 11, more or less, after the image, I'm back to the JavaScript file, right? In case you didn't notice. So I'm back, I'll leave the CSS there in the background for a while. So back to the JavaScript. Let's display the name of the guy, the name of the actor. So I'll simply type Tom Cruise. How you pronounce that? Is Cruz, Chris, Chris, Cruz, whatever, right? That guy. How old is he? He's like 90 years old, right?
Yeah.
This is super old, right?
Be kind.
Right. So we got Tom Cruise there, right? Yeah, I was going to say something, but this is going streaming now, so I don't know. I can say something about him and what he does, but later on, off topic. Right. So we got Tom Cruise here, right? It's a bit small, right? Again, it's not very usable. How do we make Tom Cruise title bigger? H1. Okay, if we put H1. Okay, yeah, it's a good discussion actually. Let's put H1 first. Font size. Okay, there are different ways to solve the problem, definitely. If you put H1, it's bigger, right? But now the problem is it's as big as the title of the app, right? So from a semantics point of view, it doesn't follow a good hierarchy, right? So let's make the title a bit smaller.
H3.
Correct. So if we put H2, it will get a bit smaller, right? If we put H3, it will get even smaller, right? That's up to you, right? It's find whatever you consider elegant from a usability point of view, right? Cool. So I hope everybody managed to display the image and the name of the actor, right? Before going any further, because these two things, the image and the title, are related, right? They are very related, image and title. Let's do something, guys. Please surround these two lines with an empty div. Look what I'm doing. I'm adding a div. Yes, div, D-I-V. And then, yes, put the image and the title inside of the div. Nothing changes visually speaking, but that will help us shortly to scale and to progress on the app, right? What do you think about this structure on the HTML? Do you think it's correct from an indentation point of view? Why not? Correct. So look, line number 11 and 12, do you agree they belong to line number 10, right? Because they belong, they should be moved to the right-hand side. You see? now it's easier to realize that these two elements belong, hierarchically speaking, to that div. That's a classic problem, right? That's a classic problem. Some people, it's like, hey, I don't understand what's going on, right? Of course, look, this is horrible. That's the worst thing you can do in HTML. Because you struggle a lot to understand what goes inside of what, right? You can do two things. If you ever got that, you can, of course, you can do all the style, right? You can select it, tab it, keep tabbing. You know, you can ruin the productivity of your day doing these things. Fortunately, one of the great things of Visual Studio is it can do it for you. How do we automatically format our file so Visual Studio, you know, looks after that? So first of all, break it. Don't break it too much, just in case, but it's something like that, right? Put everything on the left. And then you do right-click anywhere, and there is an option called Format Document. If you click Format Document, boom, right? Visual Studio will do its best, right, to format the document, right? So there is a classic problem. I'm going to break it a lot now. Don't do that. Don't do it at home, guys. So I'm going to remove a closing div. So now that's incorrect, right? Well, errors everywhere, right? It may be even complicated to debug, right? What's going on at the moment? It's not obvious. It's not obvious, right? However, if I trust Visual Studio and I format it, at least visually speaking, I can see which tag is not closing. So for example, that tag closing here, H1 there. That tag, line number 8, is not closing at all. You see the vertical line, I'm expecting a closing div tag here, right? So then we can add it, and then of course format the document again, and then sort it, right? Probably you didn't notice, but a few minutes ago we have some friendly green messages saying compile successfully, you are doing great, you are going to make 700 a day in 5 years working as a developer. But now these messages are gone, right? Now messages are yellow again. Let's have a look, right? I personally suggest you, whenever you have a warning, stop. Fix the problem, because otherwise the snowball will get bigger. It will get much harder to solve later on, right? So let's have a look to the error. Fortunately, in 2019, errors are very descriptive, so it should be relatively easy to fix it. Now, React is complaining because IMG elements must have an old property. Does anyone know what that means? Text that displays in the picture is not really the text that displays on the picture.
It's an alternative name for the image which will visual people, blind people.
That's correct. You mentioned the right word, for blind people, right? So, you know that we're using a visual web browser, right? Something that we can interact with easily. But there are special browsers for impaired people, for blind people, who obviously they cannot see the screen. But these browsers, they can read, they can talk, right? So these browsers will be able to easily read the text. This is an app. The app says list of actors. We got Tom Cruise at the bottom. But then there is an image. Today, in 2019, special web browsers, they are unable to read, to interpret the image, right? That's why we need to be explicit, and we need to tell these readers, hey, this image talks about Tom Cruise. Yeah? Probably at some point, because of AI, artificial intelligence, they will be able to figure out what the picture is talking about. But one day, not today, right? Because this is not happening today. Please add an alt attribute on the image tag and then describe the image. Because this is about Tom Cruise, I will type Tom Cruise again. And as soon as I do that, our compile successfully message is back. Any question? No? All right, let's add a second actor. So to add a second actor, I'm going to do something. I'm going to copy my div, I'm going to paste it underneath, and I'll change the title and the image, right? So I'm copying the div, and then I'm pasting it underneath, right? And now I will get Tom Cruise twice, right? Which is expected. Can I copy it again? Of course I can, right? Of course I can. So you see the beautifulness of modern software development. You import something once, Tom Cruise image, and then you can reuse it as many times as you want, right? That's technically speaking correct. But obviously we don't want to display Tom Cruise 3 times. Let's find another actor, guys. Which is your favorite one? Let's bring a lady. Let's keep it even. Scarlett Johansson, for example. If you don't like it, we can change it. Eh? I don't mind, to be honest. Right. Again, I'm going to find a picture of Scarlett Johansson, a square picture. So again, tools, size, exactly, 640, 640. Oh, that's a bit weird, right? The first non-creepy picture of Scarlett Johansson. So again, save image as. Remember to save the picture on the same folder, src, Scarlett Johansson. Feel free to rename it, of course. Right. And now, once you've saved it, do you remember the 2 steps we need to follow in React to display an image? First, we need to import. I like it. I like it. What's the name of the variable? What you want, right? I call it Scarlett Johansson for semantics, right? And then from, again, Scarlett Johansson. So then, how do we display Scarlett Johansson on the screen? Image tag, correct. So we go to the second image, right? And then if we refresh, nice, right? We got Tom Cruise and we got Scarlett Johansson. Is the name of the actress correct? Are you sure? We need to change it, right? Let's change it. Let's change the title. Do we have to change the alt as well? Yes, right, for screen readers, right? So I'm going to select Tom Cruise in the second image, and I'm going to use the sexy Command D shortcut so I can replace it in one go. Scarlett, it's probably with 2 T's, right? Well, who cares? Johansson. Right, so now we got Tom Cruise and we got Scarlett Johansson. Right, last actor, guys, you tell me. Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington. Right. That's good. First picture of Denzel Washington. Is this the guy of Pulp Fiction? Or not? No? Right. That was Wesley Snipes. No, not at all. Wesley Snipes is in jail, right? For tax evasion or something like that. Yeah, he was in jail for many years. Anyway, let's say Denzel Washington. Denzel Washing. Washing. I'm unable to spell that. So Denzel Washington, correct. So Denzel Washington, right? Same thing again, and again, right? Coding is about repeating the same thing again, and again, right? That's why it's important to make it right. So remember, import Denzel Washington from Denzel Washington. Be careful with the extension, PNG, JPEG, all these things, right? Be careful with these details. And then finally, at the bottom, just put Denzel Washington and the title, right? The name of the actor, finally. Denzel Washington, right? Did it work? It didn't work for me, right? That's a good example. It didn't work for me. I did something wrong, right? So one of the things about coding is being able to debug what's going on. It says module not found, can't resolve Denzel Washington JPG. So I misspell it. Denzel Washington. So I would like to review the name of the variable. Denzel Washington. Oh, you're right. You're right. You see the problem, right, guys? Double E. Double E. Correct. As soon as we fix the error, it works theoretically. So if we go to the browser, you see Tom Cruise, Scarlett Johansson, and Denzel Washington. All good? Yeah? So hopefully you can start smelling the problem. What happens if our database, instead of having 3 actors, has 3,000? It may take us a while, right, to download all the images and to copy and paste the same piece of code, right? So here in the Codery Bootcamp, we build CodeFlix, which is an alternative to Netflix. So we build an app where we can display TV shows, we can play trailers, we can navigate, we can do all these things. It's pretty much the same problem, right? As soon as your database of movies starts growing, it's a bit complicated, it's a bit boring, time wasting, right, to do all this process. That's why React became so popular. With React, we can create components. So a component is, I'm oversimplifying that, is a way to reuse a piece of code. HTML, JavaScript, whatever. You can see the pattern, right? We got the same structure 3 times. Div, Tom Cruise, div, Scarlett Johansson, div, Denzel Washington. It's the same thing. So we can create a template, right? We can create a template, and then we can customize the title and the image, so then we can easily reuse it. I'll show you how to create a component. There are different ways of components, not many, but there are different ways of components. So I'll show you the most simplistic one. So the most simplistic type of component, which technically speaking is called stateless component, right, is a JavaScript function. So I'll show you an example. Just an example. If you on top of the file, before or after the class app extends component, but not inside. So please make sure that you type outside of the class, right? You can type function. Let's call it actor. And now the capital A, because React likes capitals, right? Pascal case. You remember Pascal case? Right, that's Pascal case. So, because that's a function, please open and close parentheses. And then open and close curly braces. Why I'm doing that? I'll show you. Because now I can return a piece of HTML. For example, I can put a div here, and I can just type a message like hello for now, for now. Hello. Why I'm doing that? Because now on my main component underneath, look what can I do. I can display, I can make a reference to this actor component. How? This is at the end of the day an HTML tag, same as div, same as h1, same as image, same as h3. Consequently, I can open the tag symbol and I can type actor and I can close it. Right? And then it fails, right? That wasn't expected, right? So let's have a look why that fails. Right, so, right, I had to refresh the page, yeah? So it's a bit, sometimes happens, right? So when you refresh the page, if you got the same problem, you see hello message is somewhere here, right? It's a bit small, but yeah, it's there, right? I think you agree it's there. So obviously, I can display the actor multiple times. 1, 2, 3. And now, if I refresh, I got hello 3 times, right? Do you smell why I'm doing that? Right? Because I want to move the logic of the actor into the actor component. So then it will be much easier to extend, to modify. What happens if, let's ignore the component for now. If our business analyst, after reviewing what we've done, says, you know, that looks good, but the titles are a bit small. Can you increase the font size? And you said, no problem. We can change H3 to H2, but we need to do that 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3. It's still okay, but again, that goes against scalability. As soon as we have 50 actors, that won't work. If we have a component, that means we can change it once, and the changes will be spread across our list of actors. Let's do that. So I'm going to put the 3 actors back, and then I'm going to remove my actors. I'm going to cut 1 actor, one of them. Means I got nothing, right? Which is not great. But look at what happened if now I paste one of the actors on the actor component. Something happened, as you can probably see, right? So what you can see, and indentation is horrible on the left-hand side, we'll sort out in a minute, but technically speaking, can anyone tell me why Tom Cruise is again 3 times?
Looped over the corner actor.
Yep, correct. So we are displaying actor component, whatever that means, 3 times. At the moment, the information the actor component offers is static, hard-coded to Tom Cruise all the time, right? So let's do a couple of things. Because I hate that indentation, I think that looks particularly horrible. Let's indent that correctly. So whenever you want to return a multi-line piece of HTML, to me, the sexiest way to do that is open parentheses, and then in a new line, inside of the parentheses, you can put your HTML inside of the parentheses. Do you think that's correctly indented? It doesn't look good. Do you remember how to indent it automatically? How? Right click and then what?
Format selection.
Format selection, no, format document. Yeah, now at least looks better, right? Again, that doesn't affect the eventual result, but technically speaking, looks better, right? Cool, but now we start talking about serious things. That setup displays Tom Cruise 3 times, but I don't want to display Tom Cruise 3 times. I want to display Tom Cruise, and then Scarlett Johansson, and then Denzel Washington. In other words, we need to communicate, right? We need to send a message to the actor saying, please now display this actor. Now display this actor. Now display this new actor. Does anyone know how to customize the behavior of a component in React? Props. I like that. I like that. Yes, using props. So what props means? If we go back to the 3 lines we typed before, the 3 actors, here we can pass, technically speaking, we can pass attributes. That's the correct way to describe what we're going to do next. An attribute is just essentially a key value pair. So, for instance, I can type the name of the actor, you see, equals, and then what's the name of the first actor? Tom Cruise, correct. What's the name of the second actor? Actress, Scarlett. What's the name of the third actor? Denzel, correct. Yeah? You see how expressive React is, because now this is very easy to read, right? I want to display an actor, fair enough. What's the name of the actor? That one. I want to display another actor, what's the name? This one, right? It's very explicit. However, Tom Cruise, right? He likes the screen, right? He likes the screen a lot, right? So that's not working yet. That's not working yet. Why? Because even though we are sending the correct attributes to the actor component, it's up to the actor component to receive them. At the moment, the actor component is ignoring, is statically displaying Tom Cruise. So how do we hook both components? How do we wire them? As someone mentioned already, when we create this kind of components in React, you can pass a special variable inside of the parentheses called props. You can rename it if you want, but that's the standard in the React community. So just follow the standards and call it props. So props is an object. If we don't really know what an object is, I recommend you to attend any of our Introduction to JavaScript series. But an object is essentially a collection of properties and values. Because that's an object, that object will hold all the information that we are providing. In our particular case, just the name of the actor. So how do we dynamically wire with the name of the actor? Let's select Tom Cruise. Let's delete it. And then that's important because we want to display something dynamically. We need to use curly braces. And inside of the curly braces, then now is our very unique opportunity to display the name of the actor. So I'm going to type props dot. What's the name of the property, guys? Name, that's correct. If I change this static title with props.name and I refresh the page, still Tom Cruise, but if I scroll down, let's see what happened. Scarlett and Denzel. That's correct, right? I mean, the images are wrong, but hey, the theory works, right? We found a way to communicate components in React. Now, first of all, is the old attribute correct?
No.
No. A screen reader will say, there is a new web page here. It's a weird one because there are 3 actors, Tom Cruise, Scarlett Johansson, and Denzel Washington, but because of a reason, the developer who created that decided that the name of the actors is the same all the time. You don't want that, right? Because of that, let's rename Tom Cruise, again following the same pattern, the same criteria. Curly brackets, correct, props.name. And even though visually speaking, we cannot see any difference, but that's now, we can rest assured that that will make the trick. So now, question for you guys. How do we display individual images? Get rid of SRC.
Yes, SRC Tom Cruise, we have to get rid of.
Okay, I get rid of that. Fair enough?
Yeah.
And then what?
Put them in a class.
We have to give, in actors, we have to pass similar to a name, we have to pass some parameters.
Like what?
Like Tom Cruise, SRC could be Tom Cruise.
Props dot? Image? Okay, someone said image. I like that because that's an image, right?
Yeah.
Oh. What happened, guys? Why it doesn't work?
No, in the app, class app, down there, we have to pass them.
Correct. Correct. Now we change the roles. Now the actor is already expecting the image, the new property. However, app, who is the component invoking it, is not providing the image. So then actor said, okay, if you don't send me any image, I don't know what to display, right? So now it's a good opportunity to add a new attribute referring to the image. Why image? Because that's the way we call it, right? Can we call image Brexit?
You could if you want.
That's correct, right? We can if we want, right? So let's leave it image for now, for today. And then again the same pattern, right? Image, because that's a JavaScript variable. Do you remember how to surround JavaScript variables in React? With what? Curly braces, or curly brackets, right? Don't call them parentheses or square brackets or weird things like that, right? These are curly braces, or curly brackets. Cool, let's use them, right? And then here we need to reference to the name of the image that we are importing on top. Maybe you notice, or maybe not, that the images are, at the moment, are grayed out. Can you see that? They look, compare the color of that variable with the color of that variable. You see that they are like, the opacity is not the same. This is because Visual Studio is telling you, hey guy, be careful. Why you need that if you're not using it, right? It's a good visual way to realize that something is unnecessary. It is at the moment because we are not using them, but that's just a temporary situation because in 5 seconds I'll drop image equals Tom Cruise, right? So if we do that, now on the right hand side you can see Tom Cruise is back, and also not just that, but also you can see the difference on the color, right? So now Tom Cruise is brighter because we are definitely using it, right? Does it make sense? Cool, so let's do the same thing with Scarlett. Image equals Scarlett. And finally, let's do the same thing with Denzel. Probably you've noticed, Visual Studio will realize you are typing to use Denzel Washington, which is a very long name to me. So it will suggest you, as soon as you start typing, it will tell you, maybe you want to use Denzel Washington. Thank you. Type enter, and then it saves you some precious seconds, right? So now, look, it looks pretty good, right? Tom Cruise, picture, Scarlett, picture, Denzel Washington, picture. Yeah? So, the last question of the day. We got 6.5 minutes, guys. So what happened if now, because we work on a kind of gossip magazine, we want to see how old these guys are, right? And you know, these kind of weird questions, weird things that they talk about. So I'm not going to do that. You are going to do that. Can you tell me how to display the age of each actor? Change the component, okay?
For example, paragraph.
Yeah, paragraph.
And then,
And then what?
props. Attributes here.
Props. Dot H. Like that?
Yeah, and close the.
Close. You see what happened, right? If I forget to close the curly brackets, right, you get lots of alerts and messages around, right? I traveled recently from Shanghai to Tokyo, and the flight, the plane started falling down, right? There were lots of lights around, right? So that was way more aggressive than that, but it's the same principle, right? If something is not correct, red colors, red lights all around, right? So now to fix it, just put another curly bracket, and then what happened next? Is the H anywhere? Why not? Correct. You're absolutely right. You need to pass a new attribute, that's the correct way, called H. And then what? Right. How old is Tom Cruise?
Too old.
It's too old. Let's figure it out, right? 31. It's 56. Thought he was older, to be honest. How old is Scarlett Johansson? I think she's 32?
I don't know.
I think it's 35 or something, right? I don't know. 40? Really? 34. I was close, actually. Right, and how old is Denzel Washington?
50 something. 60 something.
60 something. Never. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's have a look.
He's over 60.
Over 60. Yeah, I think we agree on that, right? Denzel Washington, 64. Nice. Nice, nice. Cool. So, will it work now? Look. Yeah? At least technically speaking, you got the number, right? Tom Cruise 56, Scarlett 34, Denzel 64, right? So that's correct. Can we improve the usability, right? Let's guess that we talk with our business analysts and they say, you know, 34 what? 64 what? What are we talking about? Number of movies they filmed? What was that? Age, correct. How do we combine variables and static code? Easy. Look, someone suggested to put a paragraph. So can we do that? Age. Look how easy is in React to combine literals with variables. It feels very natural, right? It's really good. Scarlett Johansson, age 34. Denzel Washington, age 64. Tom Cruise, age 56. Right? Is there any question? No? We got 4 minutes left. Do you want to continue for 5 minutes more? Yeah? Okay, so very last thing.
One question.
Yeah.
The JSX format.
Yeah.
Is there a way to give a comment option?
A comment?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because this HTML is, at the end of the day, is inside of a JavaScript file, we can comment. You know, comment means disable, right? So let's guess that because of whatever reason, we realized it was a horrible idea to display how old each actor is. So we can, obviously, we can delete the line, right? We can delete it, right? And it works. It works, but maybe that's a bit aggressive. What happens if we just temporarily want to disable that, right? So you can comment it. Look, double slashes. Look, if you put double slashes, it doesn't work.
Really?
It doesn't work because that's, if you put double slashes, look, it feels React thinks that you want to display double slashes.
That's the JSX.
That's a JSX. How do we comment on JSX? Look, shorted. And now you'll be asking how you've done that, right? So
What is the shortcut?
with a shortcut, yes, correct. So there is a very useful shortcut in Visual Studio Code to comment one line or multiple lines, look, in one go, very quickly, which is, if you're a Windows user, Control/. If you're a Mac user, Command/. Which makes sense because slash is like the classic way to comment lines, right?
Yeah.
Alternatively, you can manually type slash, asterisk, star, and then at the end, asterisk, star, slash, right? But hey, the shortcut is pretty useful, so let's just do it, right? Right. The very last thing I would like to show, and this is not strictly speaking related to React, but this is about usability. So our app starts looking nice, I hope, on a mobile device. But what happened if we go back to desktop? Correct. Look at what happened as soon as I press the close button. That may be still okay, but if I maximize the window, that's not usable, right? That's not usable. So let's learn very quickly how to change the user interface according to the size of the screen. Very simplistic, very simplistic. If I'm on desktop, I would like to have 3 columns. Tom Cruise on the left, Scarlett in the middle, Denzel on the right. If I'm on mobile, I would like to have what I had before, right? So that's one of the most fundamental principles of responsive design, to change the layout according to the device you are dealing with, because we work with universal apps. Here we create universal apps for mobile, tablet, desktop, etc. How do we do that? We need to do a couple of things. This is going to be relatively simple. First of all, please surround your free actors with another div. Just put the div and then the actor components inside of it. And then give it a class, a CSS class. Do you know how to add a class on it with HTML? How we do that?
With a dot. Class name.
Not really, no. With HTML, we put class equals, for example, actors.
Okay.
Yeah? That's the classic, the traditional way. But if I do that, and that is not obvious, if I go back to the browser, even though it's correct, if I open again DevTools, look, can you see, let me maximize it a bit. You see the error? Invalid DOM property, class. That's not acceptable in React. That's why you remember at the beginning of the session, we asked, is that kind of things HTML? Almost. There are some exceptions. That's a good one. We cannot use class to style our components. We cannot use class. The reason, and the details are beyond the scope of this session, is because class, C-L-A-S-S, is a keyword in JavaScript. Maybe you've noticed it on line number 17. So there's a conflict of interest here, right? React doesn't know if we want to add a styling or if we want to add a new component, right? That's a long story short. Because of that, fortunately, React is really good with the messages. It says invalid DOM property class. Did you mean class name? Yes, I mean class name, right? So class name is the correct way to style our components using React. Yeah? Cool. So we got the class name actors. And then back to the actor component, I would like to add a new class name. Can you figure out the class name I'm going to put here? What's the name of the component? It's actor, right? Let's keep it consistent. Let's call it actor. Consistency is the key to success. If your component is called actor, just on the root element, put the class name actor. If your component is called Brexit, just put Brexit as the main name of the class, right? Of the component. Simplicity is the key here, right? And now I'm done in regards to the HTML/JavaScript, but I would like to go back to the CSS. You remember app.css? I promise that eventually I will go back to that file. So I need to do a few things here. Few things. The very first thing is I'm going by default, I'm going to make sure that I display the actors in 3 different columns. How do we do that? Look, we can reference to the actors div. You remember? I can even put that on the right-hand side to display both side by side. You remember actors? Mm-hmm. Yeah? So then I want to refer, what do I want to do with the actors? I want to display them alongside. Does anyone know how to do that with modern JavaScript?
Flexbox?
Correct. Even though that problem has been there since 1991, historically speaking, there were different ways to do that, using float, using few things like that, right? But fortunately, with modern CSS has evolved a lot, almost as much as JavaScript. We can do something very sexy called display flex. And now, even though the next line is absolutely unnecessary, because that's the default behavior of flex, for academic purposes, I'm going to display how do I want to display the elements. To do that, we can do flex direction column. Sorry, not column, row. So flex direction row, that means that all the elements inside of the actors, that means Tom Cruise, Scarlett, and Denzel, will be displayed in the same row. So if I go back to the browser, look, nice. Much better, right? Much better. So now we can see all the list of actors in one go, but do you know what happened if I re-enable the iPhone X view again? Will it look same as before or not? We'll see. Again, inspect. Oh, it's broken. Right? We broke it. We broke it for mobile. Right? Why we broke it for mobile? Because, and actually that's another good hint, I believe, you can inspect, you can select elements on the screen, and if you select actors, look, that line, you remember, flex direction row. Look at what happened if I comment, for example, display flex. Look, and that one. Come on, another one. Hey, what's going on? Sorry, give me a second. There was another one on top, sorry. Right, look, you see? So that's why DevTools is so useful, because I can quickly prototype and change values. So I can do whatever I want. Again, this is not going to be persisted. As soon as I refresh, changes are gone. But for testing purposes, I can try. What happens if I change the background color to green? Which looks horrible probably, but you see, it's a very simplistic way to play around, to prototype with the styling of your app. So, and we are finishing, guys. We know that all these problems are because of these two lines that we just literally added. Now, however, I want to revert somehow the rule if I'm on mobile. Does anyone know how to apply CSS just on mobile? Media queries, I like that. I like that. Yes, media queries. If you search on Google CSS media queries, there are lots of articles about that, right? But this is a bit about culture. So there is a really, really good and simplistic article, and that's why it's so good, on W3 Schools, that will tell you what's a media query, and I particularly like the example. So I'm going to copy that for now. And then back to the project, I'm going to paste it at the bottom somewhere. Let's try to analyze this line a bit. So essentially, the important thing is what we got on the right-hand side. So here what we say is, please, if the resolution is up to 600 pixels, then do something. What do we want to do? We don't want to change the background color of the body, of course, but we want on the actors. Does anyone know how to change the direction? We don't want row. What would be the opposite to row? Column, correct. We can do flex direction, column, right? So if we try again, and we refresh, look, mobile, perfect. Desktop, perfect. Now we got a responsive app. Actually, we can even make it more fluid. Look, I'll show you. So, not sure if you can see, but as soon as you start resizing the screen, shrinking the view, it tells you the size of the width of the screen, right? So look, 940, 900, 800, you see? As soon as it goes on 600, it will automatically change the orientation of the elements. 600, look, 6, 9, 7, 3, 2, boom, you see? 600, exactly, literally at 600 pixels. Now I'm changing the layout to mobile. So, questions? No? Nothing? All good? Any feedback apart from that? So how was the session? Is it something you were expecting? Not? Okay. Right. If you have any idea, any suggestion, like, because people in Meta, we're more than 3,000 members, they send a lot of feedback. We appreciate that, right? So if you have any feedback about how can we improve this kind of sessions, please drop a message, either direct message on Meetup, send me an email, whatever, right? And we'll take it into consideration, right? Apart from that, just one more thing, guys, in case you are interested, because here we have a bunch of free tools that we are using, right? So I would like to show them to you in case you want to get better with JavaScript. So maybe you've noticed that we have a website, codity.com. So the reason why I'm showing you that view is because there is a button called play. So if you click on it and you sign up, which I already did, in which case some of you already signed up. So if you do that, you sign in, whatever. So essentially, you can practice your JavaScript skills. This is for free, right? That's why we are showing it here. So that's the tool we use here to progress, technically speaking. I'll show you an example. So there is a training option on the left-hand side. So there are 3 levels of difficulty. We have developed that tool. So let's start with beginners. Let's do a quick training, very, very quickly. So the way this works is, we have a question about JavaScript. This is the most simplistic one. So we are expected to create a function called getWelcomeMessage that returns a message, welcome to JavaScript. Then we got all the details. We have a dedicated video for each question, some external resources, lots of utilities, right? So then on the right-hand side, we are expecting to create a JavaScript function that returns welcome to JavaScript. Do you think that will work, guys? Yes or no?
No.
Why not?
Because what you've got is a comparison operator, not an assignment.
Yeah, but because we want to compare what that function returns against that hard-coded string, right?
So you get true or false, won't you?
Correct. So we want to get true, right? So we'll get true if what we return on the left-hand side equals what we expect on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Do you think we are returning what we're expecting? Why not? Thank you. Look at what happened if I evaluate that. It fails. Look, green. What you return, it looks pretty similar, but we're missing the exclamation mark. Yeah? So if we add the exclamation mark and we test it again, now it's green, it's fully correct, but now we got on the elegance, right? So talking about modern standard JavaScript, we're expecting to add a semicolon. So if we add a semicolon, all good, right? So that's the type of exercises we do here. I'll skip the next one. So just FYI, at the end of this kind of individual challenge, you get a score.
Wow.
So the score tells you how good you are with JavaScript according to several metrics. Tenacity, how many questions you solve. Accuracy, how many times you submit and you fail. Speed, how long it took you. Focus, how many times you went to Google to try to find the answer. Elegance, how standard your code is. Why we do that? Because twice a week here privately and twice a month publicly, actually tomorrow, I know some of you already know this, we do that. We do a coding challenge. A coding challenge is people coding JavaScript for 60 minutes. I'll show you an example. So, this one. Too many people, right? So it's a bit hard to see anything. Actually, let me show you another one with less people than that. Yeah, that one, for example. You see? So this was the last coding challenge that we ran 2 weeks ago in Tech Systems. So Tech Systems is the largest recruitment agency in the world. We have a partnership with them. So they have a grad scheme. So if you join the bootcamp, you'll get a job, right? That's how it works. So on that bootcamp, on that challenge, and actually there are some pictures. So we have some very nice pictures on the website. I'm sure some of you are around, right? So what we did is we did literally that, right? We did the coding challenge. This is expert, right? That's the most complicated one. And after the challenge, then we show the results. So who finished at the bottom, then all the positions, right? We analyze the results, right? And that's interesting because when we got time, we can even compare the solutions side by side. So this is very convenient to learn different coding patterns, coding strategies, right? And if someone failed to find the answer, right, when we got time, analyze why it didn't work, right? So why we do all these things? Because once you start doing challenges, the industry have access to that tool, so then you can see how good people is, right? So we got already some hundreds of developers. So this tool is becoming quite popular, fortunately, right? Again, it's completely free. So if you want to train your JavaScript skills, now we have a chat here, so we can stay in touch and we can, have a discussion about whatever you want. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So again, tomorrow we do a coding challenge here. There is some seriously good people here. For example, the top one is a Google employee, right? So we are talking about serious people who's very good at coding. But again, we got people who've never touched any single line of code. Actually, last coding challenge, it was won by a former bootcamp student. So he defeated everyone, even some senior developers, and he was hired by Sky, which is one of those companies in IT, not just in London, but in Europe, right? So if anyone is serious about coding and you want to progress professionally and you want to make a lot of money or you want to join code remotely from Bahamas, Japan, anywhere, we're here, right? Apart from that, thank you very much. Thank you as well to the collaborators, Mo, Michael, Dave, and Daniel. I'll stay here for a while, so if you want to stay to have a chat about whatever, if you want to have a drink, that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, guys. I'm looking forward to see you soon.